compassionate care close to home. So don't go out of town. Come see us at the Warner Hospital and Health Services Physical Therapy Department, and we'll get you back in the game.
Your front yard has turned into a swamp. Now what? For just $80 a year, Pekin Insurance offers up to $10,000 of coverage for the cost associated with providing service to repair leaks or breaks to water and sewer lines caused by normal wear and tear and usage. Visit PekinInsurance.com to learn more about their homeowners endorsements or ask your local Pekin Insurance agent about water and wastewater damage protection for your home. Pekin Insurance is rated superior for personal lines claim service by Ward Group.
This is Jay Peterson, your hometown Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. For a virtual or in-person appointment, call today at 935-6605.
Scott Baum here from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. The 2022 Silverados get the job done on the farm every day. It has the muscle to get things done on the farm and off. Whether you go to the Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa and see the Chevy exhibit or stop by our dealership, you'll get all the details on the Chevy Silverado to get your hauling and towing jobs done. Service is a tradition here at Baum's, and we specialize in Silverados. See Silverados in transit and production at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Dr. Jim LaValle is our guest on the phone this morning, author of Cracking the Metabolic Code. Dr. LaValle, it's good to talk to you, sir. How are you today?
Steph, how you doing this morning?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. Thanks for making time for us. I know you're a busy man, and we appreciate all the time you gladly give us. And let's talk this morning, Dr. LaValle. I was just kind of scrolling through Instagram the other day, and there's a couple of local folks that I follow, and one gal is a real nice lady, and she's very into fitness, and she does fitness instructing herself, and she's into nutrition and managing a hectic lifestyle and eating well and exercising. And she put a thing on her Instagram that said, you need about 25 grams of protein a day. And if you can do that, you will help curb back on, or scale back on the cravings and the things that you desire that aren't good for you. Importance of protein, Dr. LaValle. Let's start there today. What do you have for us?
Well, I think the first thing is that, when you think of people as they're aging, their protein requirements go up. And so a lot of people think, I think it would go down. People actually live longer when they eat more protein, especially once they're over the age of 65. But when you're managing a busy and hectic lifestyle, there's a lot of reasons why protein's good. And I would say that 25 grams of protein a day, that's a low number to hit.
I'm sorry, 25 grams of protein a meal. That's what I meant to say. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, there we go. That sounds a little better. So I think that what protein ends up doing for you is helps you to build neurotransmitters for your brain, which means you're probably going to crave less. You don't get blood sugar spikes as much when you eat protein. So you don't get the up and down roller coaster and the hangry effect of eating a higher carb or more sugar in your meal, right? So it helps to balance out how you're going to feel and helps you to have more consistent energy. Now, the one thing I encourage people to do when they eat protein is get plenty of vegetables in with it because you want to create what's known as alkalinity in your chemistry. So protein is more acid forming, so is eating grains. So protein is not the only thing that does it. Grains do too. And so you just want to make sure you try to, add it, if you're going to order that burger, maybe instead of ordering the fries, like, hey, give me a side salad, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of behaviors that can be pretty valuable. And protein to me, super important. The big concern for people once they hit 55 is this issue of what's known as sarcopenia, or the loss of muscle. And you want to think of muscle being, it's the currency of aging. When you can keep your muscle, the longer you can keep it, the better you're going to age. You're going to walk more stable. You have less risk of a bone cracking or a hip fracture on a fall. So that's why protein's so important.
Dr. LaValle, you mentioned the craving, curbing or scaling back on those cravings. Why is that? And what is kind of the science behind, is protein just longer lasting in our bodies? Is it more fulfilling? What kind of goes on there?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to why people crave, but in general, people crave because of their stress response, and people crave because they may be low in a couple of neurotransmitters, either serotonin, which is the craving for comfort food. I want mashed potatoes, gravy, and maybe a little piece of pie for dessert, right? Oh, that feels so good in my brain. That's serotonin. And then dopamine, which is, I don't just want one piece of pie. I want to eat half the pie, right? Dopamine makes you to kind of compulsively continue to eat, like, go eat through your bag of potato chips until, you're past being full, and you just keep eating it in order to kind of calm yourself down. And so proteins have a rich in amino acids that help us to build serotonin and build dopamine. Now, however, people should note that, when you eat some carbohydrate at night with your protein, that'll help to build serotonin, which will also help to reduce your craving pattern and that night munching pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So the science isn't all that complicated. It's really that you don't get blood sugar spikes. When your blood sugar goes up because you just ate a bowl of oatmeal with raisins and honey, your blood sugar goes up, and then it will crash. So a lot of people will notice, oh my gosh, at 10 o'clock after a 7:30 bowl of oatmeal with raisins and honey, gosh, I need something to eat. Where I got to look for something. And that's because when what happens is that blood sugar goes up, your body releases insulin. The insulin pulls the glucose out of your bloodstream. And if you do that repeatedly, you start to pull too much glucose out of your bloodstream. So your blood sugars drop quick. And now I need, more food. So you need food based on regulating your blood sugar in order to reduce cravings. You also need to moderate stress.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also need to have a pool of the neurotransmitters that come from protein that allow you to build the neurochemicals in your brain that you need in order to balance that effect. So, there's, quite a few reasons why people end up craving.
Again, our guest on the phone today, Dr. Jim LaValle, is author of Cracking the Metabolic Code and joins us here for this morning. Dr. LaValle, how about students and kids in school? How important is it for them to get the protein they need on a daily basis for, success in school, development of their bodies and brains? How about young people and protein?
Yeah, I mean, I once again, with protein, you're, going to feed muscle, right? So you need what's called anabolic drive, and protein helps with anabolic drive. So the more active a student is in terms of physical activity, really important. But you also have to realize that, proteins help with mental alertness. And so many times a more protein-rich breakfast can help students to feel more alert, stay more focused for a longer period of time versus doing that, bowl of cereal and banana trip that they end up doing. And so, it's essential to building, a healthy young frame in children and teens, right? It's interesting because, getting enough, for example, in teenage girls, getting enough calcium, they'll build their bone density at its peak through their teen years. And of course, once they hit menopause, depending on how much they built that bone density, they could be more at risk for osteoporosis if they weren't eating adequate protein, getting enough exercise, all those sorts of things that add up into kind of building structural improvement as well. But, the big thing on people in terms of craving patterns overall, and this is 38 years of doing work with patients, stress is the big thing that causes it. So you deplete your serotonin pool, you're stressed out, you're feeling a little anxious, feeling a little overcommitted, and now all of a sudden, your brain's saying, hey, you really need some carbs because you're stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
And, being able to manage that for people is important. Protein's one strategy. There's a couple, nutrients that do a good job of that. There's one called Relora that does that. And actually, in terms of protein, there's a new research by Dr. Wolf out of the University of Arkansas. It's probably the world's leading researcher on amino acids. And there's something called a digestible, indispensable amino acid score. So what it is how well does the foods you eat break down into amino acids that can be used by your body? And they score that. And it turns out that, whey protein was the champion up to a few years ago at that, meaning you drink whey protein isolate and your body can use those amino acids. So it's not just about how many steaks you eat or how much chicken you eat. How well do you utilize it? Well, recently there was by Dr. Wolf's research, there is the use of essential amino acids, the amino acids your body needs, but can't easily get them without, taking them in diet. You can manufacture most amino acids. And so, you develop a blend that actually you drink this and it actually improves protein synthesis or muscle synthesis 3 times better than any other known food. So I think there's some real breakthroughs on this kind of protein side of the equation for people.
Absolutely. So, Dr. LaValle, as I look at the clock, we are coming up on needing to take a time out here, sir. Anything else on the discussion of protein, be it for young people, adults, those getting older? How about those things? Anything we missed today you want to make sure we know?
Well, just remember, all the evidence shows that people over the age of 65 have an increased need of protein if they want to live longer. And those, when you're trying to, what I find in teenage athletes is a lot of times they're eating a lot of pizza, they're eating a lot of carbs, they're not getting enough protein. And that means that you don't have that balance for, making strong ligaments and collagen, because about half of all injuries in sports, the non-contact injuries, are due to imbalances in nutrition. Make sure you're getting enough adequate protein in the course of your day so that you can keep that balance of proteins, carbs, and fats that your body needs.
Dr. LaValle, always great stuff. How do folks follow along with everything you're doing these days?
Pretty easy. Just go to jimlavalle.com. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Also, they can go to metaboliccode.com. But jimlavelle.com is a great spot for them.
That is Dr. Jim LaValle. He is the author of Cracking the Metabolic Code, our guest on the phone for this morning. More to come with him here on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4Ls with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Mr. Farmer, downtime is lost time, productivity, and profit. That's why AAK Mechanical in Clinton offers both welding shop repair at their location as well as mobile welding on the farm or in the field. Bring your equipment or part into their welding shop just off Illinois Route 10 east of Clinton. If you're down in the field, call AAK's mobile welding service at 935-8501, 935-8501 for AAK's Mechanical Mobile Welding Service to get you up and going again in their welding shop or in your field. AAK Mechanical in Clinton provides complete welding service.
From school physicals to annual exams, the SIU Center for Family Medicine, located inside the Logan County Health Department at 109 3rd Street in Lincoln, is here to help. It is important for kids and adults to see a provider on a regular basis to prevent illnesses. New students, preschoolers, kindergartners, 6th and 9th grade students are required to get a physical exam. Now is the time to schedule your child's back-to-school physical. Call SIU Center for Family Medicine at 217-735-2317 or click their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
CBS Sports Radio.
The many platforms of WHOW keep you up to date on the latest sports scores, sports interviews, and your calls on CBS Sports Radio every Saturday and Sunday. From professional to college, from the latest drafts to the latest deals, plus all the scores every hour. CBS Sports Radio keeps you in the know on the air and online on the many platforms of Central Illinois' news, agriculture, and talk station. Tune in or click through for CBS Sports Radio every Saturday and Sunday on WHOW.
CBS Sports Radio. Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Dr. LaValle, you were telling me before Dr. Jim LaValle, I should say, is author of Cracking the Metabolic Code, and he's our guest on the phone this morning. Dr. LaValle, you were telling me as we got connected this morning, there's a lot of intriguing research regarding exercise and longevity and how to, best approach exercise as it relates to longevity. What do you know? What are you finding?
Yeah, really. I was searching through because I'm doing a talk on basically on longevity to a group of docs here in a couple weeks, and I was kind of looking for the latest research because everybody assumes that, oh, hey, anything you do is good. But with exercise, a study out of Germany showed that if you were doing either like an interval of a walk, jog, or a consistent, I would say brisk walk to light or light jog, that ended up extending these things in your cells called telomeres. And what telomeres do is you can almost think of them as bumper guards to your DNA. And the longer your telomeres, the more you keep duplicating your healthy tissues. As telomeres shorten, that is like losing the bumper guards and exposing the edges of your DNA, and that can create eventual damage to your DNA. And of course, that means that you're going to start to age because what starts happening is that your body starts making something called senescent cells. They're cells that start to create inflammatory compounds. So there's a term called metaflammation, or metabolic inflammation leads to aging or inflammatory aging. And so, while this report in Germany showed that, hey, aerobic or mixed interval training helps to lengthen telomeres, they didn't show that resistance training lengthened telomeres. Now, here's the trick. There are other things that resistance training does that's really important for aging. So it isn't all about the telomeres, but it is important to note that you probably shouldn't avoid getting some aerobic work in. And because with resistance training, it's important because it builds bone density. I think it helps with blood sugar better, meaning it helps to balance your insulin and glucose. You're obviously retaining muscle, which is great. So you retain bone, you retain muscle, you improve insulin resistance, you improve mood. Well, all exercise ends up improving mood for the most part. And so I think for a lot of people today, kind of the hottest topic is longevity. And I think it's striking because we just got the news this morning, the reports out of the government that Americans are projected as of this year to live an average of 2.7 years less, which is the sharpest decline since they were measuring it. So and yes, you can think of the pandemic probably contributed to that data, but I still go back to, we have more diabetics than ever, more heart disease, more people with autoimmunity. In general, people need to start to look at, hey, whether you're, even resistance training or deciding to do endurance work, just start doing it. Mm-hmm. Stop talking about it. Mm-hmm. Start getting to the Y. Start getting to the local gym. Start moving. Even if you just walk your neighborhood. In general, people aren't moving enough. People are still eating too much. They're eating too often. They're eating too late. They're picking the wrong foods, just like we talked about in the last segment about getting more protein in your diet, not overdoing protein, but, getting adequate protein in your diet. And you can start to enjoy better health. And, I think this is it's the hottest topic now. You're seeing kind of on the fringes, the So, hey, can we live to 120? Hey, you know what? I would love it if we could get people to live to 80 in a healthy way. And because the average life expectancy, what was reported today, 76.1 years, which is a drop from, 79.8 years from the last time that they measured it. And, I think it's really important that we start to emphasize, how are we going to live longer? We know that, better lifestyle works, but I still think people struggle with committing to a better lifestyle when, hey, you know what? It's Taco Tuesday. It's Pizza Thursday. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, yeah, and it's the weekend. I'm going to have a couple cocktails, probably go out to eat and have a dessert. And so all of a sudden, half your week isn't necessarily, working towards health. And what the big mistake people make is they go, hey, I exercise. I can eat whatever I want. And that's just not the case.
You just hit me right. You just hit me right in the heart with that one, Dr. LaValle.
I know everybody says that, but yet I end up seeing the lab values on folks. And it's like, well, sorry, no, just because you're an endurance athlete and you're skinny doesn't mean that you're healthy. It's understanding that how you look on the outside isn't always a reflection of the chemistry that's going on the inside. So, getting regular lab tests, understanding where your lab values are at. I mean, I wrote a book called Your Blood Never Lies, where it kind of helps people explain their lab tests. Because a lot of times you get a call from the doctor's office saying, oh, everything's normal. Well, is that good normal? Is it low normal? Is it high normal, almost out of range? Is there something I could be doing to get myself in an optimal range? I mean, I think it's some of the things that I think we fail to recognize in many cases. And what happens a lot of times is, you cross the line and then all of a sudden your doc's saying, oh, hey, you need this medication. Well, wouldn't it be great if we could avoid more medication and work towards defining better health? And I think longevity is one of those key areas that everybody's interested in, but you got to work for it. It's that old story I always tell people, your health is work, but it's worth it. Spend as much time researching your next lab test as you do researching your next refrigerator you're going to buy. That's what,
Yeah, sure.
Or next car, Think about your health more regularly, and I think, that can really make a difference. And I think that this whole aspect of what's called senolytics and cell senescence, what is causing your body to trigger inflammatory signaling? And inflammatory signaling doesn't mean your joints ache necessarily. It can. It could be, hey, I'm not thinking as clearly as I used to. My short-term memory is a little off. You have neuroinflammation.
Sure. Dr. LaValle, I don't mean to do this to you, sir. I have to cut you off, unfortunately. Best way for folks to follow along with all the things you're doing.
MetabolicCode.com or JimLaValle.com.
That is
to find out what I'm doing.
Very good. Dr. Jim LaValle, author of Cracking the Metabolic Code, our guest on the phone for this morning. We join network news here on the WHOW Morning Show.
RN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. In a late-night court filing, the Justice Department disputes the Trump legal team's argument for the appointment of a neutral third party, so-called special master, to review documents that were seized by the FBI in the Mar-a-Lago raid. The Justice Department saying appointment of the third party is not necessary. Attorney General Garland has sent a letter to Justice Department staffers writing that non-career employees cannot take part in political events, including those of family members. President Biden coming to the defense of the FBI at the same time with the midterm elections looming and crime soaring. He's trying to distance himself from Democrat calls for defunding the police. Watching Wall Street, stocks are mixed at the moment. The Dow is down 69 points, while the NASDAQ is 27 points higher. More details at srnnews.com.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Welcome to another report from the Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa on the Hometown Illinois Radio Network. We'll join farm broadcaster Jared White next.
We've caught up with Ryan Titchage, and he is with Bayer Crop Sciences, and we're here at the 2022 Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa. And Ryan, early on day one, how's the show treating you so far?
Treating me very well. We've got great weather here today and a good turnout, so excited for what's coming here.
Lots of excitement, lots of new and exciting things happening. That's what the Farm Progress Show is all about. I understand with Bayer Crop Science, you have a new system that you're talking about. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's called the Smart Corn System, and this is going to be a fairly transformational system for corn production. And when you think about it for a second, at the heart of the Smart Corn System are short-statured corn hybrids. Okay, so these are hybrids that are about a third shorter than their tall corn counterparts. And, that brings about a number